Hey, welcome to part two of a five-part series summarizing Dan Kennedy's great advertising book, The Ultimate Sales Letter. If you have advertising for your business that you would like to get better results for, more conversions, more sales, then this is really, just one of those books that is going to help you for the rest of your career in business. And so we're on section two. This is about what you're going to learn in this video is everything from getting inside your prospect's head to actually writing your first draft. So let's dive in. First off, I think we probably ought to address who was Dan Kennedy, in case you don't know. So Dan is a strategic advisor, author of over 30 business books, has influenced over 1 million business owners. I could go on and on. Dan was my gateway drug into the world of direct response, and I owe him a great deal for that. Who's Mike Connolly? That's me, marketing strategist, investor, and for what it's worth, Dan Kennedy, certified copywriter for info marketers. So let us dive in. There's going to be 9 steps we're going to cover in this video, and we're going to go through them very briefly. I just want to say that you've got to get the book if you really want to get the gist of what is going to make your advertisements stand out and really sell for you. And remember, as Gary Halbert said, you're just one sales letter away from pretty much solving any problem in life. And today that applies to maybe not necessarily a letter per se that goes out in the mail. It could be a website. It could be an entire marketing funnel with dozens of emails and text messages and Facebook messages, whatever, right? The point is creating a successful promotion can just be a total breakthrough for you and for your business. All the way back to the time of Claude Hopkins with his Schlitz ad that was brought this beer company from kind of mediocre, middling to one of the top companies in the country selling beer, to Stansberry's End of America sales letter that brought in hundreds and hundreds of subscribers and worth easily millions to that company. So there's all kinds of examples of that, and you can capture that for your business. That's the point of a great sales letter, and understanding how to translate that into whatever advertising you're doing. So there we go. There's my little rant. I'm off the soapbox now. Let's get into it here. So step 1 of the 9 we're going to cover in this quick video is what is the secret sauce for all great sales letters? Well, I believe from experience is that it is all about just getting deeply into the head and mind and the heart of your prospect. So if you really can put yourself in their shoes, understand their pain, and understand their desires, that is step 1 to creating a good sales letter. And if you don't do that, it ain't going to happen for you. But that is where it all starts. If you can do that and not only understand what they're feeling, but also how they articulate that in their own language. That too is a key part of it. So that's step number 1 is really getting into the heart and mind of your prospect. Step 2, and this is probably more important than anything else for the success or failure of any of your advertisements, is once you understand your prospect, then you need to create an offer for them that would, would make anybody feel really stupid for not taking you up on that offer, right? That's not easy to do, but the key is finding some way to bridge the product or service, the solution that you've provided for, and making that just irresistible to your prospect. So that would be step 2 is creating a really powerful offer that your client, your ideal client, is going to find impossible to turn down. Step 3, and this is something that beginning copywriters and marketers, advertisers sometimes have trouble with, is showing your vulnerability with what Dan Kennedy calls a damaging admission. In other words, showing off something, admitting that, hey, it isn't perfect. By doing that, people will feel like they can trust you a little bit more. They feel like you're, a real person, and that if you're willing to be honest with them, by revealing something, that, they can trust you more. So showing your vulnerability with a damaging admission can be a big step. And just kind of getting past that mindset of you have to be perfect, throughout the rest of your sales copy in the letter, I think will be very helpful. Number 4 here is the number one secret to getting your message across is actually getting it opened. Now, that is going to vary by media. As an example, for, let's say, direct mail, you could send let's say, a letter out in a regular business envelope, and chances are very good it's going to just end up in the trash can. If you send that in a FedEx envelope, and maybe there's something inside of it that gives it a little dimension, chances are much better it's going to get open. There's all kinds of ways of delivering your message that will ensure that it gets attention, and that it makes it so that the person on the receiving end really has to open it and at least find out what it's about. But that's the trick, because most messages are ignored. We have so many advertising and marketing messages coming at us, and informational messages as well these days, that it takes a lot to get a message through. So that's really the number one secret to getting your message across, is even getting it opened and considered as to even, whether somebody's going to read it or not. Step 5 is how to get your message looked at. The key here is the headline. Now, the headline can be a title. It can be, the introductory phrase on, let's say, a social media post, something that grabs your reader's attention and draws them into what the actual message is. And, just to give an example of headlines, writing that headline is really where you want to put 80% or more of your attention. It's not uncommon for great copywriters to write dozens, if not hundreds, of headlines before actually settling on one that works. Because think about it, let's use an email for an example. So in an email, the subject line serves that purpose. And if that subject line doesn't get the reader to open, or the recipient to open, then everything else that got written is not even going to be seen, right? So it's the same with any of your sales letter, any of your message. You've got to get that initial hook, which is your headline or your title or subject line on an email, whatever that is, to draw the reader in. So that is absolutely essential, and you'll want to do that. Put a lot of energy into that. So let's just stop right here and let me ask you a question. Have you had any issues writing a sales letter? Have you had great results with it? If you would, write your comments below, or if you have a question about, how that works, or, what you find the greatest, most frustrating aspect of writing a sales letter is. Put your comments below, and I'll respond to them here. Let's get to step number 6, how to get your message actually read. Now here, what we're talking about, and I'm going to go in and actually refer to the book here, is there's just a lot that you can do with the actual writing once somebody gets in. And there's this principle in advertising copy that I believe great copywriter John Carlton refers to as the slippery slope. In other words, once somebody's read your headline and then they've decided to go to the next line. Let's say they opened up your email. Now they're reading the very first sentence in that email. What is the job of that sentence, right? So the job of that sentence is to get them to read the next sentence. And what's the job of that one? Well, it's to get them to read the next one, right? So you've got to think very strategically about what is being said, especially at the very beginning of your message, to draw your reader in. You don't want to just put something, in the first couple of seconds of their experience of your message that is even middling. If it's even just informational, you could lose them. So it's critical that it draws them in and brings them all the way through to the key points in your message. That sort of process of the slippery slope. Once they're on it, they now. I mean, have you ever read something where you started reading and you're going, oh my gosh, I hadn't really meant to read this thing, and it's just it's kind of hard to stop, right? So great writers will do that. Great copywriters know how to take one message, take one line, one phrase, and make that tease you into the rest of the message. And that's how you get your message actually read. And no word is every word has to carry an important message. It has to carry weight. All right, let's look at step number 7, price resistance, right? So if you're selling, this is something that you may have your own hang-ups about, but no doubt your prospect will have a lot of reasons to resist based on the price. So what I'm going to do is actually refer to some of the ideas that Dan talks about in the book, but only very briefly because there are just so many great ideas here. Like I said, you've just got, if you haven't read it or if you don't have it on your shelf, like mine, and mine is dog-eared, it's kind of grimy from having been opened and used so many times. If you don't have a copy of it, you're really missing out. So I'm going to just go through a couple of these ideas briefly, and just to give you a sense of some of the things that you can do to overcome price resistance. So comparing apples to oranges, let me just look at an example here. So comparing a cassette program where, let's see here. So let's say comparing, now in Dan's day when he was writing the book, cassettes were the medium through which you could sell information. But let's just say, an online webinar versus having to go out and physically, get in your car, go to a meeting, show up at a seminar and all of that. If you are selling a course, a video course, being able to compare the cost of $1,000 seminar that maybe you've even got to fly out to a different city to get to, versus having to, simply being able to just log into your computer and being able to watch from the comfort of your own home or office. Having that apples to oranges comparison can really break down price resistance. So, if it would cost you $5,000, including airline and hotel and the seminar itself, versus $1,000 for an information product that can be produced on video and scaled massively, there maybe cost you $50 to produce. You have that ability to break through price resistance through, an apples to oranges type comparison. There's so many other examples in the book, making the parts worth more than the whole. In other words, taking each of the features of the product, breaking them down, assigning each of them a value, adding up the total, and then just completely slashing through that with the actual price. So you might have 5 different parts, or each of them are worth $1,000, totals $5,000 in value, but you won't have to pay that today. Your price is only $9.97 type of thing. I'm sure you've seen that, and the reason why is it works. You can. There's so many things, and again, I'm just going to urge you to go get the book. Those are a couple of ideas you can use to break through price resistance. And of course, it's just critical in your sales letter. That's just something that people think about and hangs them up. You've got to get past that if you're going to make the sale. Step 8, do what winning copywriters do. Now here, this could be a 3-day workshop, of course. So again, I'm just going to touch on a few things from the book. And these are just to jog my memory. You know, if I was to sit down and write a letter, as I'm sure you will once you have done this a few times, a lot of these things will come naturally to you. So a limited number available. So creating scarcity and urgency. If it's a, if you have only a certain number of books printed, then, when you've only got 56 copies, you get down to the 52nd one, there's only three left, what's 4 left, whatever, that's going to create some urgency if somebody was kind of on the fence, and they were thinking, oh, gee, I better get this now rather than later. Social proof, in other words, we've had 533 people already purchase this product, and so that right away creates a sense of, well, gee, all these other people are doing it. I guess it makes sense. So social proof is big. Demonstrating the return on investment, for higher ticket items. If you can say, all right, so what's the value of this to you, having this problem solved. Let's say if it's, a high ticket item like creating an estate plan for someone that an estate attorney would do. Well, what is the value of that? Considering the legacy value, the value to your heirs, and that could be worth hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of dollars over time, and compared to the actual cost of an estate plan, a mere $10,000 or whatever it would be, seems very small in comparison. So things like that. Again, just really, you got to get the book. I'm just touching on a few of the techniques that Dan talks about here that winning copywriters do. And so let's move on to step 9. This will be the last of this section, and that is actually bang out your first draft. Now, one of the big problems that I see business owners, marketers, and even copywriters have, why they don't get their sales letters or their advertisements written, is they fear that the first copy is going to suck. The first draft or whatever it's going to be terrible. And you know what? It probably will be, and that is totally fine. That's how it works. There's a really great book. I haven't read this yet myself, but it's on my list by one of the folks that founded Pixar, the animation studio that Steve Jobs, I think, invested in or purchased, and then Disney actually ended up buying it. And and of course they produced some great movies. But the founder and the author of the book talks about how every first draft of the script of the movie sucks. It just flat out sucks. And the work just begins at that point where they need to take it from suck to not suck. Is kind of the first step. And that's all you're looking to do with your first draft. If you can just bang it out and get something down, and of course it's not going to be great, it's not going to be the final result. We tend to feel intimidated by all of what seems to be perfect advertising out there, but what you're seeing, in its finished form is just the tip of the iceberg of oftentimes of all the work that went ahead of that, including that very sort of intimidating first step, which is the first draft. So get the first draft out, get it done with. It certainly doesn't need to be perfect. But once you get it done, you'll find that the rest of the work is easier from there. That is one of the toughest steps, is getting that first draft done. So there you have it. I hope you found this information useful. If you'd like more Dan Kennedy copywriting tips and strategic marketing and copywriting information, check out some of the links below. And of course, if you found this helpful, please do share it with your friends, hit subscribe, and if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't like it, give it a thumbs down, whatever. I look forward to hearing from you. And again, for more information, hit one of the links below, and we'll see you again soon.